Ladies and gentlemen, what if I told you that just 3 simple habits done every single day could completely transform your life? Not someday, not next year, but starting today. In the next few minutes, I'll reveal these life-changing habits that can make you calmer, stronger, and unstoppable. So listen closely because this could change everything. Every day we wake up with 24 hours in our hands. Some of us spend them wisely while others let them slip through our fingers, wondering where the time went. Life doesn't wait, it doesn't pause for anyone. And yet the magic is this: small, consistent choices, made daily, have the power to transform everything. Today I want to share 3 simple habits that, if practiced every single day, can completely change the course of your life. The first habit is gratitude. Every morning, take a moment to pause and reflect on just 3 things you are thankful for. It could be the warmth of the sun on your face, the people who love you unconditionally, or even the challenges that have made you stronger. Gratitude shifts your perspective from what's missing to what's abundant in your life. Imagine waking up every day focusing on what you have, instead of what you don't. Slowly you begin to notice life's hidden treasures. Your mind becomes lighter, your heart softer, and your energy becomes contagious to everyone around you. Gratitude is not just a feeling, it is a lens through which the world transforms. The second habit is intentional action. Life will never wait for you to be ready, and the world will not reward hesitation. Each day, set aside a few minutes to focus on what truly matters. Prioritize the small steps that lead to big goals. It could be learning something new, writing that book you've been postponing, or simply taking care of your health. Intentional action is not about grand gestures, it is about consistent, purposeful choices. When you act with intention, procrastination loses its grip, and you start moving forward, one step at a time, towards a life that resonates with meaning. The third habit is reflection. Every evening, take a few minutes to look back at your day. What went well? Where did you falter? How did your actions align with your values? Reflection is like holding a mirror to your soul. It allows you to see patterns, recognize growth, and course correct before small mistakes become big regrets. Without reflection, life can feel like a ship drifting aimlessly. With reflection, you become the captain of your own journey, aware of the winds, the currents, and the stars that guide you. The beauty of these habits is that they are simple, yet profound. Gratitude nurtures the heart. Intentional action empowers the mind. Reflection refines the soul. Practice them daily, not just when convenient, but consistently, and you will notice subtle changes at first. More peace, more clarity, more energy, and over time these subtle changes compound into a life that feels full, purposeful, and deeply satisfying. When you practice these habits day after day, life begins to feel different. Not in some dramatic, overnight way, but in a quiet, subtle transformation that grows stronger with each sunrise. Gratitude becomes more than a morning ritual. It becomes a way of seeing the world. You start noticing the small gestures that once went unnoticed. A friend calling just to check on you, a stranger offering a smile, or the simple beauty of a flower blooming by the roadside. Your mind begins to dwell less on what is lacking and more on the richness that already exists. And this shift in perspective creates a peace that nothing external can take away. Intentional action, when combined with gratitude, becomes a powerful force. You begin to understand that every choice matters, even the smallest ones. Drinking water instead of soda, taking the stairs instead of the elevator, reading a few pages of a book instead of scrolling endlessly on your phone. These tiny decisions accumulate over time. It's not the grand gestures that define your success or happiness. It's the consistency of your small, intentional actions. Each step you take toward a goal becomes a seed planted in the soil of your life. And while you may not see immediate results, the seeds are growing roots deep beneath the surface, preparing you for a harvest that is far more abundant than you could have imagined. Reflection too grows in power as a habit. At first you might feel uncomfortable looking at your mistakes, at the moments you could have done better, or at the times you allowed fear or laziness to guide your actions. But over time, reflection becomes your compass. You start to notice patterns. What triggers your anger? What inspires your joy? What drains your energy? And what fuels your spirit? Reflection allows you to understand yourself more deeply than any external teacher ever could. It teaches patience because you see that growth is not instantaneous. but a process that unfolds moment by moment. It teaches humility, because you recognize your flaws and embrace them as opportunities for learning. And it teaches resilience, because when you look back at past failures, you see not shame, but stepping stones that have brought you to where you are today. The real power of these habits lies in how they interact with each other. Gratitude softens the heart and makes reflection more honest. Reflection illuminates the areas where intentional action is needed. And intentional action reinforces gratitude, because taking meaningful steps in life reminds you that your life is in your hands. These habits are like 3 threads that, when woven together, create a fabric strong enough to carry the weight of any challenge, yet gentle enough to feel the warmth of joy and contentment. When you commit to these habits, you also begin to influence the people around you. Your presence becomes calmer, your words kinder, and your energy contagious. Others notice the difference, and without even trying, you inspire them to examine their own lives, to cultivate gratitude, take intentional action, and reflect deeply. Life starts to ripple outward, affecting more than just your own journey. And even in moments of difficulty, when plans fail, when relationships are tested, when the world feels heavy, these habits act as anchors. Gratitude reminds you of what remains, intentional action reminds you of what you can control, and reflection reminds you of the lessons hidden in every challenge. Day by day, they shape a resilience and wisdom that cannot be shaken by circumstance, creating a life that is not dependent on external validation, but rooted in inner strength and clarity. As these habits settle into your daily life, something remarkable begins to happen. You start to live with presence. You notice the warmth of the morning sun on your skin, the sound of birds singing outside your window, the gentle rhythm of your own breathing. Life is no longer a blur of tasks and obligations. It becomes a series of moments, each one carrying meaning, each one an opportunity to connect more deeply with yourself and the world around you. Presence is not something you force. It is something that emerges naturally when gratitude, intentional action, and reflection guide your days. You begin to understand that happiness is not a distant destination, but a byproduct of the way you choose to live each day. Gratitude shows you that joy already exists in your life, even in the smallest details. Intentional action teaches you that progress and fulfillment are created, not stumbled upon. Reflection reminds you that growth comes from understanding, not judgment, and that every experience, pleasant or difficult, has a lesson to offer. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, you start to feel lighter, more centered, and more capable of facing whatever challenges life places before you. And as your inner world transforms, your relationships transform too. People are naturally drawn to those who exude calm, clarity, and kindness. You notice the patience you now extend to others, the empathy that allows you to listen without judgment, and the generosity that comes from a heart anchored in gratitude. Rather than need, conflicts lose their intensity because you approach them with understanding instead of reaction. Love deepens because you see people for who they truly are, rather than who you want them to be. And in the quiet, everyday moments, the smile shared with a stranger, the helping hand offered without expectation, you realize that your impact stretches far beyond what you can immediately perceive. You also begin to see that life is a mirror, reflecting back what you cultivate within. When you are grateful, the world feels more abundant. When you act intentionally, opportunities appear where once there were only obstacles. When you reflect deeply, clarity and insight emerge from confusion and uncertainty. The power of these habits lies not in some external reward, but in the transformation that occurs within you. They make you resilient, not because life becomes easier, but because you become stronger. They make you joyful, not because circumstances are perfect, but because your mind has learned to recognize beauty and possibility in every moment. The beauty of this journey is that it is ongoing. There is no final destination, no point at which you can say, I have arrived. Every day offers a new canvas, a fresh opportunity to practice gratitude, act with intention, and reflect with honesty. Even when life challenges you, these habits act as your compass, guiding you back to balance and perspective. And over time, the accumulation of these small, deliberate actions creates a life that feels rich, meaningful, and aligned with who you truly are. As you continue practicing these habits, you begin to notice the subtle ways life starts responding to you. It's not that the world suddenly becomes perfect or that challenges disappear. Rather, your perception changes, and with it your experience of everything around you. Situations that once felt overwhelming now seem manageable, because your mind has learned the art of calm. Relationships that once felt complicated begin to feel simpler, because your heart has learned to listen and empathize. Even setbacks, failures, and disappointments start to feel less like punishments and more like lessons, valuable insights guiding you toward growth. You also realize that time, which often feels like an enemy, becomes your ally. When you are intentional about your actions, every moment is invested in something meaningful. The minutes you spend scrolling aimlessly on your phone, worrying about things beyond your control, or replaying past mistakes begin to feel wasted, and a new discipline emerges. The discipline to live consciously. Each day becomes a choice, a chance to invest in yourself, your relationships, and your dreams. And with this awareness, life begins to feel fuller, richer, and infinitely more rewarding. The power of reflection deepens even further. It allows you to see not just your own journey, but the interconnectedness of all things. You begin to notice patterns, not only in your own behavior but in the world around you. You start seeing the ripple effects of small acts of kindness, the invisible ways your thoughts shape your reality, and the way your habits influence the people you love. Reflection becomes more than a habit. It becomes a lens through which life reveals its hidden wisdom. And as this lens sharpens, you start to navigate life with greater clarity, intuition, and confidence, moving not in reaction to circumstances, but in harmony with them. As gratitude, intentional action, and reflection anchor your life, you also begin to recognize the impermanence of everything. Moments pass, opportunities shift, and people come and go. But rather than feeling fear or regret, you cultivate a sense of appreciation for the present, knowing that every day carries a gift if only you are awake enough to notice it. Life becomes less about accumulation and more about presence, less about chasing the future and more about embracing the now, less about judgment and more about understanding. And in this shift, you discover a profound peace that is unaffected by the noise of the world, because it comes from within. Through these habits, your potential expands in ways you never imagined. You realize that the person you were yesterday is not the person you need to remain tomorrow. Change is not only possible, it is inevitable when you commit to growth, however small the steps may seem. The seeds of gratitude, intentional action, and reflection grow quietly, invisibly at first, until one day you notice that your life has transformed in ways that feel effortless, yet deeply earned. You have become the kind of person who naturally attracts positivity, cultivates resilience, and embraces each moment with curiosity and love.